I said, guess who's back? Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back?
I'm a two-time Olympic gold medalist, undisputed champion. I think people get it kind of. They always say, "Oh, a woman can't beat a man." I spar with men, and I mean, I drop men, I bust men nose, I beat men up all the time. It's weird. Like if I was to say like which is the guy I think I could beat up, I think I could beat up Keith Thurman.
Really?
I really do. I think I could beat up Keith Thurman, even though they like, oh, he beat Shawn Porter. I think I could beat Shawn Porter too. Skill wise and just strength wise. I think that they may be stronger than me, but their boxing abilities isn't like mine. Triple G, he's older now, but I can give Triple G a run for his money.
Backchat TV, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. We're going to talk about some recent news concerning Claressa Shields. I wasn't even really going to speak about it until I saw some recent footage of her getting quite heavily dropped in sparring, and I thought that I will talk about what's happened. Now, most people who are boxing fans, you probably already know, you've probably already seen the news about Rolly apparently releasing secret footage of Claressa Shields being dropped in sparring by a man. She was sparring a Russian guy, not very well known, and she was quite heavily dropped. She wasn't knocked out. She apparently did get up again and continue to spar with him, which shows, I've got all the respect in the world for that. For her doing that, a lot of people, not just women, would have quit after being heavily dropped by a man who's bigger than her. But she actually got up off the canvas and apparently continued. And like I said, I commend her for it. The thing is, I would have commended her more for this if she hadn't said certain things leading up to this and even after this about beating male fighters. And everybody knows that Claressa Shields always talks about her skill set being better than some of the top male boxers in all different divisions, different weight classes, welterweight to middleweight to light heavyweight. She talks about being better than them and being able to physically beat them in the ring. Now, is this confidence or is this delusional? That's the question. I've been thinking about this question, and I'm going to kind of give two different arguments so that I don't seem one-sided. Not just so that I don't seem one-sided, but I am an open-minded person. I'm also a fan of Claressa Shields, so before somebody says, maybe I'm hating on her or anything, I'm a fan of her. I think she's done amazing things since the Olympics, winning the Olympics, two-time gold medalist. That's better than, our top athletes have ever achieved. She's then gone on in the professional. I think she only had one loss in the amateurs, and that was obviously to Savannah Marshall, as far as I know. And then obviously we know she avenged that emphatically in the pros against Savannah Marshall, and it was a great fight. It was a great spectacle. She filled a lot of seats. They made a lot of money. It was a great performance. She had to go through some adversity, and she is quite clearly the best female boxer, arguably, who's ever lived. So it's not like, people don't want to give her props, her accolades. It's widely known that she is one of the best. She's beaten the best. She's taken numerous world titles. She's undisputed. Like I said, the list goes on. She's a great boxer. But I feel like she constantly comes up with this narrative that she can beat men. And not just any man, a normal man in the street walking along, or even maybe an amateur, but some of the top fighters in the world. She mentioned Errol Spence. She had a back and forth with Errol Spence, saying that she wouldn't be scared to fight him, and she said something about him being scared to spar her or something like that. because of what she's done to certain people in sparring, which is ridiculous. We know Errol Spence not scared of anybody. She's spoken in this interview. She talks about being able to beat Keith Thurman, being able to beat Shawn Porter, and she thinks that at her best, and at where Triple G is in his life now, because he's a lot older, she would beat Triple G also. She said, she's also said some other male boxers that she thinks that she can beat, and it's kind of disrespectful because these people that came before her, they've beaten many different, they've been multi-divisional champions, they've done so many different things in a division which is much more difficult than the female division, to be honest. And it's a bit disrespectful to say you think you could beat them, or is it confidence? And this is what I think. I think that certain people, they mistake confidence for arrogance. It's okay to be confident, to believe in your skills, to believe that you can beat anyone, but there has to be some kind of reality to this. And if there isn't, then you're going to get found out in a way that is either embarrassing or could physically be detrimental to your health. And this is what I feel. And I feel like by her talking about beating men, she's detracting from her greatness, because men don't want her to fight other men. We don't need her to fight men to see how great she is. I already know she's great. I want her to beat all the best female champions. I don't want her to fight any men. I don't need her to see how well she would do against a Triple G or Errol Spence. So this whole narrative is just taken away from who she is. And I feel like she doesn't realize this. I think she feels like the more she says this, the more respect she's going to get, because maybe she doesn't feel like she's getting respect from beating women. Maybe this is what it is. I feel, this kind of level of delusion, this is what I think it is. I think there's a few people that are responsible for this, not just Claressa Shields, her trainers. When she spars with men, she does spar with men all the time. It's obvious that these men are holding their punches. They're going 30, 40%, maybe less of their natural ability. They're doing that because they've been brought in by the trainers to test her, to get her ready for fights. You can see, I've watched her sparring men, and they're pulling their punches. They're not putting everything into it. They're basically testing her speed. They're hitting her just hard enough to keep her off, just to keep her sharp. I saw when she was in the clinch in a sparring match with one guy, and she was kind of pushing him back, and he kind of, she was wide open, and he kind of gave her a little uppercut. He didn't put any power into it. And you can see that she is putting everything into these punches, and the guys are often slipping punches, moving. And because she is quick, sometimes she catches them. Of course, sometimes she's bloodied their nose. Sometimes she's caught them and knocked them down in a position where they didn't expect it or something. And there are situations where she's hurt them, and that's mainly because they're pulling their punches. They're not hitting her enough. She's walking through some of their punches because they're trying not to hit her hard. It's obvious. These men, if they were to treat her like other men, she would be hurt multiple times by sparring partners. Never mind Shawn Porter, or these top guys that are fighting top competition day in, day out. These normal sparring guys would drop her every single session if they were treating her like a man. This is just the truth. Men are stronger than women. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a biological fact. Men are stronger than women. Now, I know she speaks about it's not about strength. They may be stronger than her, but her skill set is much better than them, and that's why, but there's a level where skill set and strength, there's a big gap there. I mean, Deontay Wilder, for example, is not the most skilled fighter. Everyone knows that. Everyone has said that he's not the most skilled fighter. Even now, he's more skilled. But before, in his early fights, nobody would say, oh, this guy is amazingly skilled. It was his power and his strength that was the factor. He fought many people who were skilled and he knocked them all out. Even Tyson Fury, who's one of the most skilled fighters, he's knocked Tyson Fury down dozens of times because of power. So, you know, boxing is a physical sport. It's not just about skills. Women, by and large, cannot compete with men, and a lot of people may be offended, but it's just a truthful thing. And the thing is, men don't even want women to show that they can compete with men. You know, you have to have like respect and reality. Even men, for those who think I'm being sexist, even men who are fighting at lower weight classes don't talk about how they think they could beat men at higher weight classes, because they're happy being world champions in their own weight class. You know, you'll get a welterweight, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, you know, saying that they are the best in their weight class. But none of them are saying or claiming that they can beat heavyweights, or they can beat Mike Tyson, or they can be, you know, or whatever. They're not claiming these things. You know, sometimes they believe they can beat someone 1 or 2 divisions above them, but they're not claiming that they can beat cruiserweights or any of that stuff. But Claressa Shields is here claiming she can beat men. It just doesn't make sense, and I think it detracts from her greatness. That's the first thing I would say. Now, obviously, most of you have seen the sparring footage where she gets heavily knocked down. This guy is a Russian, like, amateur, I think. He hasn't got any notable wins in the pro game, and he was able to knock her down quite easily. You can also see that he's not even really putting that much power into it. You know, so this is no disrespect to Claressa Shields, but her greatness does not depend on how many men she can beat. I just think it's ridiculous. Let me know what you think. Maybe you think her skill set, maybe you think she would have a chance, and I'm open to listen to that kind of thing. But the fighters that she's actually pointed out, there are other fighters that I think she may have a chance, a better chance against than the fighters that she actually pointed out. Keith Thurman is actually extremely skilled, and he has knockout power against men. You know, so of course he would have knockout power against her. She'd probably be finished in the first round, and this is something he said, and she thought this was disrespectful, but it's actually the truth. You know, he's actually relatively fast hands as well. He'd only have to catch her once with the power that Keith Thurman carries. Errol Spence, we know the power that Errol Spence carries. You know, Shawn Porter, we know the volume that Shawn Porter punches with, and the ferocity that he showed in his fights. And we don't need to say anything about Triple G. Triple G is known for his power, so why would you pick these fighters? These fighters are all skilled fighters with power. And even worse than this fact, probably the most important fact, is that she is not really known for her power either. She doesn't really have that much power, even against other women in her own division. She hasn't got that many knockouts herself. So, you know, how would she's talking about skills. You can't implement skills if you don't have power or speed or, you know, some kind of athletic advantage. She doesn't have that over men. All of these men that she mentioned that she could beat are faster than her. You know, they would close her down so quickly. They would put so much pressure on her, and they punch harder. So basically, she just wouldn't be able to use any of her skills anyway. I mean, the exception would probably be someone like an Ann Wolf, who does carry power and could maybe make a difference. She has more power than Claressa Shields. You could argue Shadika Green or Savannah Marshall have more power than her, so maybe they would even have more chance of beating some of the men that she's spoken about. But I don't think, personally, there's anything. I don't think there's anything that Claressa Shields could do in the ring against the men that she's mentioned. Doesn't make sense to me. Let me know if you can understand this mindset. Do you think she has a chance? I'm on to the next one.
I said, guess who's back? Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back?